What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Brent Bilski, a.k.a. Double B, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. So many things to cram into your ear holes.
Cram it up your cram hole, Floyd.
Pop this picture up, let you know what is on today's show today. Like I said, lots to do. We got this week's biggest a-hole who's got to put on their big boy pants.
I got big boy pants on.
Constant dance between the media and fans and athletes. What can be said, what can't be. Do you overreact? So biggest a-holes were Embiid, Kelsey, Franklin from Penn State, Diggs. We got Ben Simmons. I'll talk a lot about that and break it down here for you. Do the Warriors, Golden State, go Greek and trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, or do they stick with this surprise 6-1 team? I'll give you my opinions on that. Juju Watkins versus Caitlin Clark. NCAA basketball is back. There's one thing, though, that I will not accept if you want to compare Juju to Caitlin, which is going to happen a lot this year. And then NFL talk, we're going to say goodbye to the Cowboys, the Browns, the Jags, and the Saints. And does it all even matter? Because in the end, the Chiefs are locked to win the whole goddamn thing again anyway. So, like I said, lots to get into, lots to cram.
Cram it up your cram hole, Floyd.
On a side note, let me do this first little, thing here. If you can hit the next picture here for me, Mateo. Here we go. Here we go. It's election day. I'm just the sad podcaster in the middle.
There we go again.
As we go through our quadrennial purge where we say goodbye to family and friends that we don't agree with, because this is the most important election of all time, of course, until the next one. Everyone fights. Everyone disowns each other. Everyone can eat it.
Everyone can eat a big bag of shit.
It's all a bunch of nonsense. I mean, I hope you did vote. I hope you listened to the NBA players and their T-shirts and said go out and vote. If that did it for you, that's a whole nother conversation. But, express your opinion. Do what you got to do because it is important. However, I just, for me, I'm getting old. I think I'm a little already jaded with all of this stuff because, dude, we turned everything, and I say everything, into politics. I'll give you an example as I'm going to go to the video of it here in a second. But like I said, everything is political, including the story that's been the story this week. If now you can hit it for me. Rest in peace to Peanut and Fred. We even found out a way to turn this political. Everyone's been talking about this, but in case you've been under a rock, there was an eastern gray squirrel found 7 years ago in New York after its mother was hit by a car. This cute little squirrel named Peanut, and the owner, Mark Longo, and his wife raised him and his brother Raccoon, a guy named Fred, or a raccoon named Fred. They tried to release, by the way, Peanut back into the wild. A lot of people don't know that part of the story, and he came back because he was missing half his tail a day later. So they said, hey, we're going to keep this squirrel. We're going to raise him. And it was this cute thing. He became this big social media star, 534,000 followers. The Peanut squirrel money that they raised from his social media led to an animal shelter where then they got the raccoon brother Fred. But there was a couple problems, one being that Mark, the main guy, was not a licensed rehabilitator. And two, they had an OnlyFans account that some people thought they were using the squirrel and the raccoon to get attention. Their OnlyFans. Next thing you know, some Texas twat representing my state wrong, some horrible lady called an anonymous tip on these two poor animals. There was a government raid that led to them busting down the doors. The squirrel bites one of the investigators on the hand. Long story long, what happens is they decide that they might have rabies with these two animals, so they kill them both, cut off their heads to test them for rabies. They euthanize poor Petey and Fred here, and they're all gone now, and it's become this whole political thing again because everything is always political. The next thing you know, you got Trump chiming in, you got Elon chiming in, we got Governor Cuomo chiming in about this squirrel and raccoon, and lo and behold, I'm sitting here crying more than, lost family members that are from the extended part of my family. It was a horrible situation, and rest in peace, Peanut and Fred, and that Texas lady, wherever you are, right here for you. They said you can look up her name, by the way, and she's catching all sorts of shit, and God bless it, because that's the way you should treat somebody who's some goddamn Karen halfway across the country decided to go after a squirrel and a raccoon. And also, just for a fun fact, just so you know, squirrels almost never give human rabies, so that was the other big part of the problem. The fact is that they could have easily just quarantined them for 10 days because they had been in a house their whole life, and also they had never, actually passed it on to humans. So there was just a bunch of government interference and sadness and nonsense, so now we had to say goodbye to two cute little animals. I mean, squirrel would sit there and just eat waffles all day. Yes, the parents did OnlyFans, and yes, the squirrel, I guess, brought them attention. I don't think they used the squirrel. Not to get gross, but I think it'd be kind of entertaining if I'm watching a dude banging his wife and there's a squirrel in the back just eating an Eggo waffle. Big old fat squirrel just chilling. But getting to more important stuff, the good news is at least I'm in sports where, there's no political divisiveness or any sort of problems or politics. Maybe just a little bit. But anyways, hope you all went out and voted. That's my only thing. That was my big issue. Whoever can get revenge for Peanut and Fred the Raccoon, I'm all for it. I would vote for that person. And anyways, moving on. So getting into more important stuff and into sports here. Like I said, NCAA basketball is back. That's cool. You know, we got NCAA basketball back to go along with all the other sports we got rocking on, NFL, NBA, everything else. And there are going to be 3 names this year you're going to have to pay attention to. These are the 3 big names that are going on right now currently this year to watch in NCAA basketball. Matter of fact, 2 of them are women, which I find interesting. On the male side, there's a guy from Duke. His name's Cooper Flagg. Keep an eye on him. Cooper Flagg is going to be the number 1 pick in 2025, coming up the next NBA draft. He's already worked out with the Olympic team a little bit over the summer. He's an absolute stud, only 17 years old, 6'9", from Newport, Maine. Kind of an unsuspecting. You didn't see him coming, and he's going to be a really big effing deal. However, on the women's side, which is more interesting, this is supposed to be the year for Paige Beckers, who's going to be the number 1 pick in the WNBA next season. She's at UConn this year, and everyone's expecting it to be Paige's year. But the one I want you to keep an eye on, and the one I think has the best chance to kind of, take the crown from Caitlin as the new big thing in NCAA women's basketball and then goes on to be in WNBA basketball, is Juju Watkins. Everyone remember the name in case you don't know it yet. Juju Watkins out of USC is going to be the number 1 pick whenever she does get able to come out. Now, she might have to wait till 2027. We'll see, because they're at least maybe with the new collective bargaining agreement they're trying to negotiate. I hope that they can get the age limit down so that way we can go from Caitlin and Angel to Paige to Juju in consecutive years. I think it's the best marketing the WNBA could have. But if you can pop up the video here for me, Mateo, this girl is absolutely everything she is hyped up to be. Juju Watkins is next. I'm telling you, it's not Paige Beckers. If anyone's going to take the crown of the I Am Her Tribe queen from Caitlin Clark, it's going to be this girl, Juju. She is 6'2". She's 19 years old. The LA-born star out of USC is an absolute scoring machine. She reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony. She's already a first-team All-American as a freshman. She set the NCAA D1 freshman scoring record. She averaged 27 and 7 last year. She's the first woman ever signed to Clutch Sports under LeBron James and Rich Paul. She already has a Nike shoe deal, a Gatorade deal, AT&T and Wells Fargo. She's tough. She can score inside, outside. Again, very Carmelo Anthony in the way that she can do all sorts of different things on the court, and just a one-on-one nightmare, can body it, can shoot. Juju Watkins is up next. She, to me, is going to be the bigger deal. A lot of people are going to talk Paige. I'm all about Juju. I think she's the next big thing, and the one that really could actually be the bigger star in a couple of years when she shows up and Caitlin's really taking over the WNBA. However, because that is great, and I'm all happy for it, there is one thing I will not allow y'all to do, and if you can hit this picture here for me, Mateo, I'm calling this, do not make this bad juju. Please do not do this when we try to, because here's the thing with this whole situation when it comes to Juju and Caitlin. You're going to hear this a lot over the season. There's a lot of people who are rooting for Juju for some kind of obvious reasons I won't get into, but basically, I'm just going to call her, she's the anti-Clark. She's the anti-Clark for a lot of different reasons that I'm not going to get into that really aren't that important. But the fact is, and the point is that people are really going to start cheering for Juju this season. And I just want y'all to have the same energy, because I was just showing the highlights. Again, that was her first game this year against Ole Miss. It was a 68-66 win, and Juju did great. She had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 5 blocks. However, she also had 9 turnovers. And it was so funny. I saw somebody mention that on social media that, hey, Juju also, that's a lot of turnovers. That could be a problem. And lo and behold, a lot of you same people who went out of your way to try to piss on Caitlin and say, oh, she's a turnover machine and everything else, suddenly you understood the argument of when we said it's really not, in the big scheme of things, that big a deal. Suddenly people are going, well, you got to remember, I mean, she has the ball most of the time. And I mean, look at the numbers she's putting up, and they still won the game. You know, turnovers are important, but they're not that important. How dare you? No. So that's my point. If we're going to talk Juju and Caitlin fairly, you're going to have to use the same energy. You cannot bring up turnovers in one and then try to not bring them up in the other. That's bullshit. You have to stay in the same lane. As long as we stay in the same lane, we're fine with it. Matter of fact, I'm fine with it because I'm with you that I think turnovers can sometimes be overrated. Again, as I brought up before, LeBron James and Diana Taurasi are the all-time leaders in turnovers on both sides in WNBA and NBA. Steph Curry's always very high in turnovers. Hell, Michael Jordan is 33rd in turnovers. When you are a ball-dominant, absolute just dominant period scorer, assister, player, you're going to have more options to turn the ball over more than others. You're going to try to create things that other people won't be able to create. You're going to see things that others can't see, and you're going to sometimes have people drop the ball. Point is, turnovers happen, and I really don't think, unless it's at the end of the game and you can point to one specifically, if you're averaging what these girls are averaging, I think it's absolutely fine. So I am with you that we don't need to pay that much attention to the turnovers, but what I will not do is let you pick on one and not the other. Pick a lane on this, because as I look, there are two things I'm not going to accept. The first one is that Juju Watkins is already better than Caitlin. That's the other thing. Y'all are going to have to stop with that shit, as the numbers here show you. Juju in her first year averaged 27, 7, and 3.3 assists. That's a very good job. However, she is not already better when you look at Caitlin's numbers her last year in college, when she was averaging 31.6, 7.4 rebounds, and 8.9 assists, way more than Juju Watkins did her freshman year. Matter of fact, also shot in her entire career better from the field and three-point percentage so far than Juju has. So you cannot say that she's better already. That's bullshit. And the other thing that you cannot say is, I'm going to bring up turnovers for Caitlin. I'm going to do it all year and just complain about it, point it out, because it's the only thing I have, and I'm going to cling to it. But then when Juju does it, as you can see, they average almost identical turnovers, I'm going to suddenly make a big deal or not make a big deal and act like it's really nothing. And actually, you got to understand that they have the ball a lot, da-da-da-da-da. If you want to do one, do the other, that's fine. If you're not going to do one and then pick on the other, though, that's bullshit. You got to stay with one. That's my only complaint with that, and I'll move on. But keep an eye on Juju Watkins. Again, she is up next. I don't think it's Paige Beckers. I do think it's Juju Watkins. Moving on to an entirely different subject. This is something I started last week, and I had to add 3 more men to the category. If you can hit this picture for me, Mateo. A lot of people got to put on their big boy pants.
I got big boy pants on.
This is a whole subject. This is basically, I'm bringing up 5 guys. Jason Kelce, James Franklin from Penn State, Joel Embiid, Trayvon Diggs, and Ben Simmons have all had some pretty interesting spats with either the media or the fans this last couple weeks. And I just think, since it's election time too, I'll rank them and I'll let you know which ones I think were the biggest assholes and which one I think were actually kind of justified in their behavior. Because as, I call it putting on your big boy pants, though I am being serious.
You wake up in the morning and say, I put on my big boy pants. Look, I'm wearing a belt.
There's a dance that the athletes and fans and media are constantly trying to figure out, and it always makes for interesting, discussion when the altercations happen, as it happened in all 5 of these situations, because it's kind of the question, and it's like, what's okay? What's okay to say to an athlete? What's okay to heckle an athlete with? And what's not okay? Because on the one hand, they are public figures, and whether you're a media member or a fan, these are people that have sought out the spotlight. They've achieved, a prominent role in society. They have, by definition, a higher burden of proof for defamation because they are public figures. And I think another reason we don't give them a lot of sympathy is that they're all rich as shit. Money. You're rich, you have a spotlight, you get a lot of different privileges a lot of other people don't, and you are actually volunteering to be in that situation. Therefore, media and fans, I think, do have a right to say certain things even if you don't like them. However, on their side, they're also human beings, and a lot of people just assume that, hey, I don't know you, but I see you on TV, therefore you're just there for my entertainment, and I could say and do whatever the hell I want as a media member or a fan. I draw the line personally if you say something racist or prejudiced or bigoted, or if you say something about a family member or a dead family member. That's kind of where I draw that line. For me, I think most of it, the rest of it, is kind of open season. So that's what this whole subject's about, putting on big boy pants.
I got big boy pants on.
And there's 5 different exceptions here, so I'm going to bring up the first one. This one was the big one this week. I actually was with him on this. Jason Kelce. He actually apologized for this today. It actually came out, the video, when he smashed the homeboy's cell phone. A lot of people were on Jason's side on this. But he did say, I did choose to, greet hate with hate, and that it wasn't productive, as he grabbed the phone from some unruly fan before the Ohio State-Penn State game last Saturday. And what really set him off was that he called his brother a very bad slur that rhymes, with maggot. I'll just put it that way. But we can pop on the video. We can let people see it. Jason Kelce, once he was told that his brother was, a maggot, responded how he responded.
go! I love you, I love you! Chase you! Hey, keep on going! Yeah? Keep on going! Whoa! Give me my phone, give me my phone. You want to have Taylor Swift? Get the fuck out of here! Give me my phone! You want to have Taylor Swift? Give me my phone! You pussy-ass bitch! Travis Kelce, you get that on camera! You can get that on fucking camera. Travis Kelce broke my phone. How about that? Send that to the news. Send that to the news. Broke my fucking phone.
Yeah, that's what happens. Call someone's brother a maggot in the middle of the street, sometimes they might smash your phone for you, douchebag.
What a douche.
So this is a good example of where I think Jason was actually in the right, and I think most of the public agreed with him on this. You're not supposed to smash people's phones, so Jason did come out later and say, look, I probably shouldn't have done that. Again, I chose to greet hate with hate. I try to be better than that, and also he said, I quote, try to treat people with common decency and respect, and I'm going to keep doing that moving forward. He is an analyst now with ESPN. He's not just a former retired Philadelphia Eagle. He does need to keep it in check a little bit, but I mean, I think a lot of us just kind of chuckled. I was like, man, got a little Lonely Island there.
I threw it on the ground.
Oh, yeah? What's my brother again? Say that one more time, bitch. So this one, I think a lot of us sided with Jason Kelce. This next one, I was not nearly as much in his camp until he apologized. Plus, he made a reference that I think is pretty funny here. Trayvon Diggs, in case y'all missed it, also has recently apologized. So I put him more at the bottom of this category. People need to put on their big boy pants because he was basically scolded online via X by a guy from WFAA, a reporter, who thought he gave less than 100% effort on a tackle, and he got all out of his feelings.
You wake up in the morning, you say, I put on my big boy pants.
And we could pop the video on. Trayvon really went after the reporter.
You don't know football. You can't do nothing that I do. You can't go out there and do nothing. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stop playing with me, bro.
Just asking the question, Trayvon. I mean, I'm happy to have you answer the question.
That whole play, that's what you took for that? That's what you got from that whole play, that's what you got from that?
I'm asking you. We can talk about it more. What were you doing there?
I gotta say, if nothing else, I always love a D's nuts reference when he said, "Oh, let's talk about it, Trayvon. Talk about these nuts."
These nuts. Got him.
That's the old 4-year-old in me. Anytime you get a D's nuts reference, you're probably going to go, I'm going to give you a little bit more sympathy. But he did say, I was caught up. It was just the wrong time, and I do feel bad. He did really, scream at the guy, who, again, is a media member. You're a star Cowboys player, and you really didn't. If you watch that play, that 49ers play, he really gave less than 100% on that effort. And he did say, look, I'm a cover corner. I'm like a Deion Sanders. I'm not Cam Chancellor, and tackling isn't my strong suit. It's not my superpower, but I can tackle. But I, all in all, I thought, other than the D's nuts reference, which again I appreciate.
These nuts.
He apologized. He said, "My bad." So again, I think I'm going to side with the athlete on this one more than the media member, even though I thought the media member did have an opportunity and a right to question his effort, although he's never played the sport before. That's a whole nother thing that can get on my nerves, too. I get annoyed with everyone trying to keep people pigeonholed in the if you haven't done it, therefore. And those are usually the same people who will say something about, a president or a police officer or somebody else like, have you ever been president? Have you ever been police officer? Why do you? You know what I mean? There's a lot of hypocrisy of people that make that statement. I don't know Diggs enough to make that call, but I do think, I'll kind of juggle that one. I'll call it 50-50. I think they both had some right to do what they did, and maybe too much of it's just because of his dumb joke. This one, though, I'm a little bit more, this is not cool to me because you're a head coach. Penn State, James Franklin, head coach of the Nittany Lions, just had a little heated exchange with a fan recently. In case y'all missed this, very Nick Sirianni, think about that in Philadelphia Eagles. And again, you're a college coach. You're supposed to set the example. Besides the fact you're getting paid way too much money to lose, and he's getting paid way too much. James Franklin is currently going to get, $75 million over his next 10 years, and his buyout's at $56 million, even though after another loss to Ohio State, he is now 3-19 overall and 1-7 at home against top 10 teams as the head coach of this university. And so, after another embarrassing loss, some fans started being a fan and saying, hey, I don't think you're doing a very good job. He probably said a little bit ruder than that. But then, the coach, if you can pop this for me here, James Franklin, decides to start a shouting match with a child.
No, you're gonna be man enough to talk. What's your name?
Don't clap for that horse shit. He's a coach. No, I'm sorry. You're a douchebag.
You are a douchebag.
You don't.
That's right. A douchebag.
You don't, as a head coach, trying to set the example for other people and players around you, get to yell at some fan because you're not performing as you're making, again, $75 million, and you're not just not getting it done. You are so piss poor. 3-19 against the top 10 teams, and you are 1-7 at home. They just hired a new offensive coordinator. That was one of James Franklin's big excuses for Penn State, saying like, oh, we need a new offense. They were not able to get an offensive touchdown in this big game, and now, Penn State, who's trying to fight for a national championship, even with the expanded playoffs, is one more bad loss away from not even making the damn thing, and yet he feels he has the right to be a dickwad and go start a fight with a 19-year-old who has every right as a paying customer to go, dude, we expect better than this. You get paid to do better than this. You need to do better than this. He feels like he has a right to start an argument with a child.
Douchebag says what?
No. I'm totally on the other side. This is the fan had every right. He didn't say anything racist. He didn't say anything about your family. He just said you suck at your job and you got all butthurt about it. And I don't think that's fair at all. So that one, I'm going to side with the fan and actually to the head coach. Again, you're a head coach. I can say stupid stuff. I'm a podcaster. You're supposed to set an example for, basically 18-year-old, 19-year-old damn kids. And starting fans, argument with fans when you suck is not the way to do it. That's just, moving on. This next one, and this dude is constantly just a thorn in everyone's side. And this is really a good example of even worse than James Franklin, of dude, fans are allowed to boo or say you suck. They're allowed to boo or say you suck if, again, you're taking a lot of money and you're getting piss-poor results. This is the bitch of being a public figure, and you can't just be happy when people say nice things to you and then get mad when fans say not-so-nice things. Ben Simmons, and to me, from day one, the former number one pick, the 2016 draft, considered one of the greatest players come out of college, who has continually been a disappointment, has missed more games than he's played, and always loves to hide under the mental health blanket, which gets on my nerves.
Sounds like you have mental problems, man.
I don't accept it with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is not, he is hiding underneath the blanket because he knows it's hard to criticize people once they throw that umbrella on. He is just a whiny little bitch sometimes, and he loves to take guaranteed money, as he once again is taking $40 million a year this year, and not play that well or sit out because he says his back hurts, or flat out one time said, I need to take an entire year off because I don't like people booing me and it makes me sad, basically.
Sounds like you have mental problems.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what he said when he missed that 2021 season. I mean, everyone was like, dude, you're healthy. He's like, yeah, but they're booing me, and I don't like when people boo me because it makes me feel bad. Oh, do you want to return your guaranteed money? Oh, no, I didn't go that far. I just said I want to sit on my ass and take a check. So a fan recently, and this is, again, Ben Simmons, as I, gave just a big old thing about, he has missed 63 of the last 170 games and has averaged only 6.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 6 assists, 666. That should give you a sign of kind of where, his career is gone. Only 5 field goal attempts per game, but he's still making $40 million. Dude's getting paid. It's one of the biggest contracts in the NBA. So after another piss-poor game last week versus, I believe, the Pistons, he was doing the run out through the tunnel, and a fan said, basically, you suck or you're trash or something like that. Mateo popped the video up. Ben Simmons, this is your whole career to me encapsulated in one moment.
What did you say when I was there? Who talking shit?
Poor dad had to step in. Here comes Dennis Schrader. It's the whole thing. All he said was you're trash. You have been trash. Here, of course, comes the other morons with the phones. Ben Simmons.
Get out. Wait a minute.
What did he ruin? What did he say? I mean, again, you are getting paid $40 million to once again have piss-poor performance and has played only 59 games in the last 4 seasons, and a lot of time there's been a lot of question whether he's actually unhealthy or if he just wants to sit around and collect a check. So fans are allowed to say you suck, and you can't get, oh, what do you say to me, pussy, and do all that nonsense. You aren't playing good. You're overpaid. This is the real world as a public figure.
Welcome to the real world, jackass.
You don't get to sit there and cry or start fights, especially, again, with children who paid a ticket and have every right to say, dude, I think you suck. That is fair. Anybody can comment underneath my podcast tonight, and I hope you don't do it, but if you do, I have to take it and say, dude, your podcast sucks, you suck, I hate you. That's your opinion. I'm putting myself out there for you to see. I can't have, this reaction like, oh, they want nice things. Even filtering. I don't like, I have TikTok and all the ones, I get a lot of comments, and they'll ask me if I want to filter it. Hell no. Say what you want. It's your opinion. This idea that I am somehow immune, or anyone, especially someone as famous as Ben Simmons, is immune to this is complete bullshit. So, last one, his former teammate. I do not have the video of this, but this to me was probably the most interesting of them all, because this was probably both sides. I think the media member was wrong, and I think the athlete is wrong in getting upset about some of the stuff he said, because it's true. Joel Embiid, and you can go ahead and put the picture up here for me. I don't have the video, and that's the quote, and I'll get to it in a second. He was very upset. Joel Embiid was saying, you had no right to bring up my dead brother and my son and bring up my family, which is one of my rules. I did say, especially media members, but fans too, I think the line needs to be drawn. If you insult dead family members, or if you insult, them racially or whatever. This time he decided to go with the dead family member, although I think he kind of used that as a way to get more fired up than he probably should have. But in case you missed it, last Saturday, as Joel Embiid continues to not play, and one of the biggest problems with that is that a lot of people are saying it's not actually the left knee. They're saying it's because he's out of shape. They're saying he came into camp once again too fat.
Telling me to lose weight. Oh, I'm a hot case, he said.
That Joel Embiid came into camp too fat, and now that they need to monitor him because they want him to be healthy for the playoffs, that he's had to miss continual games, and now the Sixers are 1-5 off to a bad start, and Joel hasn't played yet. Now, they're trying to say, oh, there's knee injuries, there's real things here, but Joel even said publicly, I'm still going to take all the money that I've been offered and given and guaranteed, but he actually said out loud, I will no longer play back-to-back games anymore in the NBA, which is a no-no because that is actually a violation of the new terms of the CBA and the agreement. Matter of fact, they were fined $100,000 because that and some other things, there was a big investigation to go, we don't really think Joel's hurt. And we're wondering why you're sitting him, and there's a big rumor that Joel's just fat.
Telling me to lose weight.
That's a different thing. So this reporter, Mr. Marcus Hayes, decided to write a column for the Philadelphia Inquirer and had a lot to say about him. And he had a lot of things that weren't that positive and said, you know what, I think it's a shame you're out of shape. I think it's embarrassing, and it's also not a good way to represent yourself. It's especially not fair to the paying ticket holders, especially the season ticket holders who have already missed like 20% of the home games you haven't played in because you couldn't stay on a freaking diet in the offseason, even though you've gotten paid like $150 million. If anybody should have access to trainers and weight loss and being able to take care of yourself, you have a certain level of responsibility as the star of this franchise to at least come into camp in shape so season ticket holders can watch you play and not have to watch you sit out the beginning of the season because you're too damn fat. And I thought that was all a fair argument. There was a big fight, though. We never got to see video of it. Some people say it was pushed. Some people say Joel punched him. We don't know. And it was over this quote that has since been deleted in the article, so I'll read it for you here now. He said in the lambasting of Joel that he consistently points to the birth of his son Arthur as a major inflection point of his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great and leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother who tragically died in an automobile accident when Embiid was in his first year as a 76er. Well, in order to be great at your job, you first have to show up for work. And this is where Embiid, again, this is the quote he took, and he ran to the locker room, and he started the big fight with Hayes. Don't know if he pushed, don't know if he punched. There's an investigation. Probably never find out. But, I mean, Hayes said, I apologize for the comment a little bit, but Joel said, basically, I asked the exact quote here, next time you bring up my dead brother and my son again, you are going to see what I'm going to do, what I'm going to have to do, and you're going to have to live with the consequences, and this is not the effing first time, and yada, yada, yada. So, reviewing all of that, where do I stand with this one? Yeah, dude, okay. I get it's not cool to bring up the brother, and I think that is something that is probably, off limits, but also unnecessary. I won't go as far as off limits. Let me retract that. I don't think it's fair if it's public knowledge and Joel has said out loud that, I named the son after my little brother, and all he said is that he tragically died in an automobile accident. He didn't seem to have an opinion in that sentence one way or the other. But was it necessary? Probably not, because there's plenty of other reasons to go at Joel Embiid right now, especially the fact that there's a big rumor that you're just too fat coming into an offseason, which is inexcusable. It's just inexcusable. So I get being pissed as a media member or a reporter or a season ticket holder or a fan or anybody else to go, dude, you get paid so much goddamn money. As Joel tries to say, like, oh, I've given my life for this city, I've given this. You haven't given up, mashed potatoes. Of all the things you've given, you haven't given into a diet. With that type of money, there's no excuse for you not to be able to come into camp in shape. I have seen this excuse used for Luka. I have seen it used for Jokic. I've seen it used for Zion. And all this, people have natural body weights and all. It's all bullshit. Don't even try to give me BMI if you're a doctor.
Don't argue with me about it. I don't care if you are a doctor.
I have seen damn near every one of them, including those guys, get themselves slimmer and in more shape and stay away from injuries. Joel Embiid's biggest problem is every time we get to the final part of the playoffs here, he is always out of shape and he always gets hurt because after 82 games of having that extra weight, I don't care what anybody says. It is common sense to know that if you have added weight, that's added stress on your bones, it's added stress on your ligaments, and something is rigorous at the NBA, you're going to have problems. Joel, this has been a continued problem for you being hurt year after year after year, and you come in bragging that you had to lose 25 to 30 pounds in the offseason, and you still have a way to go. In the NBA, 25 to 30 pounds means in NBA world, you are fat.
Telling me to lose weight. Oh,
yeah.
I'm a hot case, he says.
That means to the rest of the world, you're in great shape. To an NBA player, when you have to lose 30 pounds, you are a chunky little guy there, or a big guy, whatever you want to call it. So as much as I don't want to give Joel too much heat for bringing up the brother, I think the author had a good point in Hayes. I don't think obviously you should have shoved him over it, but bringing up the brother and the son and everything else is probably out of bounds. So finally, to wrap it up here, who needed to put on their big boy pants segment? If you can hit this next picture here from me, Mateo. I put him top 5. This is who I think was the biggest asshole, 5-1.
I got big boy pants on.
I think Jason had the most excuse, calling your brother a maggot and then just smashing his phone when the guy was in his face. It wasn't like an audience situation fan to that or whatever else. That was out of context. That was out of pocket. And also Jason apologized. I put Trayvon at 4 because, again, I love a D's Nuts reference and I'll never let that go.
These nuts.
That's always a good way to make me laugh. And also, he apologized for it, even though he said I was out of line. I'll put Trayvon at 4. I put Joel at 3, even though that's a dead brother reference, and that's not cool, and bringing up your son is not cool. I think the author, Mr. Hayes, had a good overall point. He probably overstepped his boundary. But in the end, dude, you are out of shape. You are having problems. You can't continue to live up to your contract, and you try to play a victim. That's bullshit. He had a right to call you out. He just didn't have a right to bring up your brother. The Penn State coach, James Franklin, dude, you're a head coach, and you got in a fight with a fan, and you have sucked out loud. Penn State has sucked out loud the entire time, and you're getting a ton of money for it. Fans have every right to say you suck, and you have to sit there and eat it, and you don't get to start fights with fans. Ben Simmons, I don't even know what to tell you. Dude, this has been your running dilemma since your entire career. You have so many issues upstairs.
Sounds like you have mental problems, man.
And you try to say it's health. It's not just health. You're kind of a baby, and you're kind of a spoiled brat, and trying to start a fight with a 15-year-old and basically calling him a pussy because he said you're trash when you've been trash is bullshit. So to me, he's the biggest one of the group. And we'll go ahead and call that a segment. All right, moving on to the NFL. I want to get to this because I got 2 more things that I want to discuss. Like I said, NFL, look, I like the NFL. I don't talk a lot about the NFL right now. A lot of people get mad at me about that, and they say, hey, why don't you do more NFL talk? And my only answer to you is that, dude, I don't like boring. I don't like boring. I don't know what to tell you. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this whole damn thing.
We're gonna win.
We're gonna win.
Hit the video here for me, Corey. This just happened, or excuse me, Mateo. I'm getting my producers mixed up. This happened just last night. Chiefs now 8-0. Another nail biter. Summing up the entire season. I mean, as soon as the coin toss was lost in overtime, there's Baker's face. He knows, like everybody else, giving Patrick Mahomes at the end of the ball, at the end of the game means lights out. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know what to tell you. This should be more fun. This should be more exciting. It's not. They're 8-0. They won another nail-biter. They just beat the Bucs last night on Monday Night Football. This is the Brady and Patriots 2.0. Baker knew as soon as that coin toss in overtime didn't go their way that they were going to walk it off. That's exactly what happened as Hunt scored a touchdown in overtime. Mahomes threw 3 touchdowns. They're now, again, 8-0, just the 6th defending Super Bowl champion to reach that mark unbeaten, and they have done it by winning every game by an average of just 7 points per game. That is the smallest margin of victory in nearly half a point less than the 41 teams also in NFL history before them that were 8-0, and the last one that had ability to win that many close games that was similar to them was the Colts in 2006. They went on to win the Super Bowl because the Kansas City Chiefs have been doing this for a minute and they are not fazed under pressure. That's what that shows me, that they're 8-0, and people can say, oh, well, they're just barely winning games. They're winning by this, they're winning by that. Dude, they've been there, they've done that, and in the end, that's what's going to win the big ones, just like last night. It can come down to everything else, and they can have their turnovers, their miscues, and their blown tackles, and god dang it, do they have a lot of those. But when push comes to shove, even in a kind of pedestrian season for him, Patrick Mahomes is once again Patrick Mahomes. That last drive, he was 5 for 5 in the extra session. Even though he had a sore ankle, they're able to score the touchdown. They win again in overtime. They're going to continue to win. They're 8-0. The only team that even has a chance to give them a run is the Buffalo Bills, as far as somebody else to maybe even put a dent in this perfect season. And even if they do it, once it comes to playoff time, again, they are so good in the clutch. Mahomes is so good in the clutch. DeAndre Hopkins had a phenomenal game, by the way, in the game last night against the Buccaneers. He's the new acquisition from their trade. He's had 2 touchdowns. He looks great. That opened up the door for Travis Kelce, who's now in shape. He had 14 catches for 100 yards. They have one of the best defenses already out there. They are 3rd in the league in rushing yards allowed, and they are like 4th in the league in points per game allowed. So they got defense, they got star quarterbacks, they got great coaches. Now they've added a great wide receiver to go along with their already star tight end and Kareem Hunt and everybody else. And they're 8-0. They keep winning clutch games. You need everything combined to win all those things. You need coaches, you need quarterbacks, you need clutch, you need luck, you need defense. They got all of it. They're going to win.
We're going to win.
Pop the picture up here for me. I meant to put it up sooner, but go ahead and hit it for me. I mean, look, Chiefs are going to win again. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. Taylor's going to be celebrating in the end zone somewhere after they win. Patrick's going to be flexing. His brother's going to be doing God knows what. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. This year is boring to me. This is like when Alabama was running their things in college. This is like when the Patriots kept continuing to win over and over and over. And I had so many callers. I remember when I was on the radio at the time. And boy, people would be like, hey, why aren't you getting into more, contenders and playoff talk? I'm like, dude, because it's the Patriots and Brady again. Let me know when Brady and the Patriots are no longer, playing together, and Belichick and everybody else, and then I'll give you more Super Bowl talk. Until then, it's a boring conversation. They are 8-0, and they haven't even been playing that well. They are going to win again.
We're going to win.
We're going to win.
It's stupid. It's really almost not even worth bringing up, but I thought I'd at least bring it up for a second to let you know exactly why I don't do more. Until I see more from maybe, I don't know, like a Bills or Ravens come, more postseason time. I think the Lions have a puncher's chance at the NFC, but this is just the same old story, man. This is the same old song and dance where you got guys like Brady and Belichick and them that had their run of Super Bowls. They've won 2 now with Kansas City. Mahomes is probably going to win 3. This might be the best team they've had of the 3 Super Bowl runs, especially now adding DeAndre Hopkins. Kansas City Chiefs, the best team in the league by far. By far. I know it sucks. That's the most popular sport, and that's the most popular thing to talk about, but there's no one else that really even has, to me, anything less than a puncher's chance to give them a shot. They have a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson chance of knocking out Kansas City this year. So, moving on to 4 teams we do need to say rest in peace to. I will quickly try to get to this because I have a Warriors conversation I want to discuss. You can hit this here for me, Mateo. I will say on the other side of people that are done, rest in peace, Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints. These were at least 4 contenders that we thought had a shot this year and have all completely shit the bed and have all completely embarrassed themselves and are completely done now for the 2024-25 season. So goodbye to all 4 of you. Rest in peace. I will say to the Cowboys, who are 3-5, big exciting news at the trade deadline. You traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. As it's been all year with the Cowboys, too late and massively overpaying for it. That's been your story all season. You waited too long to pay Dak Prescott. Now he's in injured reserve with a hamstring injury. You waited too long to pay CeeDee Lamb. He didn't come into camp. He came in out of shape. He had a slow start. Now he's a shoulder injury. You brought back Ezekiel Elliott 2 years too damn late, and he's averaged only 3.1 yards per carry and got suspended just recently for off-field issues. Your new offensive line, y'all thought you were going to be able to tweak it and do it through the draft, has been the worst I've seen in decades for the Dallas Cowboys. Your rookie left tackle, you drafted Guyton, I believe you benched just recently. The Falcons, who you just lost to, who's a good team, but their pass rush sucks. You still found out a way to give up 3 sacks and 27 pressures. That defense sorely misses Dan Quinn. I know injuries. I know Micah, Lawrence, Bland, all that. But, I mean, look at the Commanders and what Dan Quinn is doing over there. That's all you need to know about how much you miss him. But the fact is that in this, quote, all-in season with Jerry, it has been all season too late and then massively overpaying after you wait too long, and it's been an embarrassing year for you. 3-5, you guys are done. Bye-bye. The Cleveland Browns, this is Cleveland. I will say at least Browns fans, although Cowboys fans should be argued to be put in this category, I will say I think Browns fans more than most know the hurt and pain of just having something, getting your hopes up and then having them taken away from you, as I used your boy Jameis Winston there in the photo. Jameis, by the way, is seen there playing charades. The category is what does Deshaun Watson think a masseuse actually does. But the Cleveland Browns were a dominant defense and big play offense last year that was able to get, 11 wins at a playoff berth. But, I mean, now your defense has not even been that great. You're like 11th in points per drive. You've only gotten 5 turnovers all season on defense. That is only 3.8% of the drives. That is by far dead last, so the defense has not been there. Then Watson tore his Achilles, and Jameis had one good game, and then Jameis does what Jameis does, which is be horribly inconsistent. And the loss to the Chargers was just 26-46, 235 yards and a touchdown with 3 interceptions. Nick Chubb, I mean, the guy's knee got bent backwards, so I'm not that shocked that he came back this year is only averaging 2.7 yards per carry. And, I mean, next year, I don't even know what to tell you. You guys might have to actually, to get rid of Deshaun Watson in that contract, trade him plus a first-round pick to get something back. And I don't know if I've ever heard of that, where you have to trade your franchise quarterback and then incentivize it with another first-round pick of your own just to get rid of him in that whole situation. And I don't know if anybody will take it now with the Achilles injury, and then he's probably going back to, civil court and everything else, and God knows what. It is a horrible situation in Cleveland, but, say better luck next year, but you guys, you're Cleveland. You know what's happening. The Jacksonville Jaguars, quickly, 2-7. Look, Trevor Lawrence, or as I have him in the picture there, Jar Jar Stinks. I mean, he's hit his 3.5-year mark. He reminds me so much of Andrew Luck, it's almost ridiculous. Trevor Lawrence, to me, is Andrew Luck 2.0 of another prince that was crowned too soon. And yes, there's been injuries to their wide receivers, Kirk and Davis and Ingram. I think you overpaid for all 3 of those guys, by the way. $45 million per year for 3 okay receivers is just meh. But, I mean, the big thing with me in Jacksonville, the stat I saw that was alarming and tells me a lot about Trevor Lawrence, you can't convert on 3rd down. That's every great quarterback. If Trevor's supposed to be, and y'all were talking about this, Trevor's going to be up there with Brady and Mahomes and, the big names. Every time I've watched those guys in a 3rd and clutch situation and, even more recently 3rd and short, usually they convert so many times in those 3rd downs and hit those big plays. They just keep offensive drives pushing. Trevor and the Jacksonville Jaguars not just been bad at it. I'll give you a stat that should blow your mind. In 3rd and 5 or less this year, you've only converted 36.5% of 3rd and 5s or less. You are not just dead last. An average team converts 53% of those. I mean, it's the biggest down as far as being able to continue and move the chains, keep your defense rested, and put pressure on them. And your star quarterback is supposed to be, the next big thing. It is so reminiscent to me of Andrew Luck, of a guy who got crowned too soon, still had a lot to prove, and so far in his 3.5 year, where it was supposed to be the big jump, has not proven a goddamn thing. New Orleans Saints, man, it looked great. It looked great, didn't it? First two games, remember when you got to play 2 of the worst teams in the league, and the Cowboys and the Panthers, and you won 47-10 and 44-10, and you looked like world beaters? Y'all are the epitome of why I tell people, dude, just wait. Give it a minute. Never get too excited too early about things that are happening in the NFL because we get so anxious and we get so eager for the season. They were 2-0, they look great and everything else. Well, they've lost 7 in a row, and they have just sucked out loud. Now they lost to that same Carolina Panthers team, really putting a nail in the embarrassing coffin. I mean, I can get to a whole laundry list of things. The defense is 26th in sack rate, yet somehow you were only able to sack Young in that Carolina loss one time, I believe, with their third-string left tackle out there. Derek Carr and Olave were back for 8 minutes, but even then, are they really that great against actual competition? You just fired your coach, Dennis Allen, and, I mean, the only thing you have is Alvin Kamara, which has been a great fantasy pickup for those who had him. Other than that, Saints sucked out loud. So, look, there's really not much else to say there. All 4 of your seasons are over. I know you're supposed to be contenders, but it's done. Rest in peace. Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints. Bye-bye. Nice try. Better luck next year. Last thing. Want to get into the NBA here. I want to talk about my Golden State Warriors. If you can come up with the next one. I don't know if you want to play the video yet. I think I have video. Yeah, just be patient 1 second here. Let me say, my Golden State Warriors have a golden dilemma. I'm a huge fan of this team, and I don't know what to do. They've not just exceeded even my expectations, they've exceeded everyone's expectations. The Warriors have almost too many good players. The Warriors have come out to play. Now hit the video here for me, Mateo. This is a golden dilemma. I don't know what to do with this team because the Golden State Warriors are now 6-1 and second in the Western Conference. And they are not just, winning games. They are kicking ass in all the things that usually make a championship team a championship team. They are third in points per game at 121.6, but they are second on defense in points allowed at 104.3. They are also second in point differential. They are winning games by an average of 17.2 points. They are also first in rebounds, something I'm not used to saying with Golden State. They are fourth in blocks in the league, which I'm not used to saying with Golden State. They are back to what I've always loved about them, the strength in numbers, but even more than other seasons. I mean, they currently have 13 players on the roster. 13 Warriors are averaging at least 10 minutes per game, and 8 of them are averaging at least 9 points or more per game. A lot of people have talked about Buddy Hield, and of course, he's been a big surprise, and he's been wonderful, 21.9 points, shooting 50% from threes in the first 7 games, even though he's taken 9.4 attempts. As you can see, I think they're going to put a Hield bomb up there in a second. Moody's been averaging 10.6 and 49% threes with 4.7 attempts. Steph Curry, who's only played in, I believe, 4 of the 7 so far, is averaging 19.8, 6.5. He's actually caught off to a kind of easy start, hasn't had to play that much. He's got to set a lot of fourth quarters. And the only thing I've noticed with Steph that I like is they are using the pick and roll. But the Golden State Warriors have just come out and blitzed people with strength in numbers, with 13 guys playing 10 minutes, with youth, with exuberance, with no ego, with unselfishness, and Buddy Hield surprising people, and Moses Moody surprising people. But they've really come out and blitzed everybody, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. So I'm kind of stuck because I was looking around thinking, these guys are good, but they could use maybe a big trade, which I'll get to in a second. I think there's a big one out there. But after 7 games and watching them, I don't know what to say anymore because, dude, this team's pretty damn good. When you're third in the league in points and you're second in points allowed and you're second in point differential and you're first in rebounds and you're fourth in blocks, dude, those are not just kind of little numbers. Those are things, when you're top 5 in both categories, that means you have a championship roster. I think the Golden State Warriors might actually have a championship roster. Now, it's very Steph-heavy, and there's no argument there. But it wouldn't be like, the Mavericks without Luka or the Nuggets without Jokic. Maybe it's a little bit more than others. I don't know because they've won 3 without him. Now, the big test is going to come up in this next week. This is going to be a big week for the Golden State Warriors. They have the Thunder, they have the Celtics, and they have the Cavaliers, the 3 other best teams in the league record-wise, all on the road, and I think they have a combined record currently 25-1. That's going to be a huge test for Golden State. But the big question, as all this happens, and I guess we'll find out more because of the schedule this week, I am going to be very curious, and other Warriors fans, you should be too, if you could pop this up here for me. The big dilemma, should we still pull the trigger if it's possible and go get Giannis Antetokounmpo? Now, I think a lot of people are going to be like, duh, but hear me out here because here's what's going to happen. So, in case y'all have missed on the other side, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently a shit show. The Milwaukee Bucks, who actually had some expectations this year, of course, with Damian Lillard and their second year, are 1-6 and dead last in the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks suck out loud, and it has been, talked about and discussed for a long time. If Giannis doesn't start seeing results quickly, he's going to want his way out of there. So the rumor mill is really picked up. A lot of people are saying like, oh, Giannis can go here, Giannis can go there. Matter of fact, it's not just the Warriors that are in that discussion. It's also been the Knicks, the Nets, the Heat. I've heard the Rockets now throw their name in the hat. There's been a lot of different teams out there. But the bigger question for me right now is as I watch a team that's 6-1, and I watch a team that's top 5 in a lot of major categories, and with this, bench unit and everybody else and all these, names that a lot of people don't expect to play well, even guys like Lindy Waters and others coming up and surprising people, is this something that you should try to stay put with and see if it works? Or is this whole thing, looking at it saying, hey, we got a lot of B players. We need another star to put next to Steph. Let's put Giannis next to Steph. I still lean that way, but man, I'm shocked how much I am now hesitant to want to do it, which is pretty fascinating as a longtime Warriors fan and somebody who's wanted to see an athletic 7-footer here for so goddamn long. Giannis would fit that role so goddamn well. And, even the trade, even what I've seen is the rumored mock trade, as I think some of y'all like me that are Warriors fans look this stuff up. The latest mock trade is those 3 guys in the middle there, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, Andrew Wiggins, along with Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, and a couple first-round picks, is a projected trade that could make sense for both sides. I think Milwaukee, they get some first-round picks there. These are the 3 guys I don't know as you as a Warriors fan, I would miss the least. I'm sorry, for a long time I've been telling you, I think Brandon Podziemski is horribly overrated. Yes, I know his plus-minus. Oh, his plus-minus. You'll love his plus-minus. I think he's a backup point guard on a championship contender at best, and currently is the only guy on the Warriors not playing well. Matter of fact, shooting 18.2% from threes. We have a logjam at 2 guard. There's a lot of people we can play at 2 in Golden State. You have Melton, you have Moody, you have Hield, we got Peyton. We got a lot of people that we could still keep on this roster that could let Brandon go. Wiggins, dude, I'm sorry. I mean, you're just as bad as Ben Simmons to me with the mental health.
Sounds like you have mental
I know,
problems, man.
family, his dad and everything. I know the story, but I mean, dude, even before, the thing with his dad, then he wanted to sit out for a while because he didn't want to take the COVID shot. Then he's always seeming sick. There's always some reason. He's in and out. He doesn't seem to be mentally focused in the game. As talented as he is, if we can move him, I wouldn't be upset. And then Jonathan Kuminga is good. He is probably 2 years away, but he is currently inconsistent as hell. So if we can give up this mock trade that has been proposed, and again, not my proposal, I've read it from insiders and guys like, on ESPN or whatever, they said this is actually something they think might go down, where it's going to be Kuminga, Podziemski, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, and 2 first-round picks for Giannis. I mean, I want to just scream hell yes and call it a night, but they are playing well. And I am enjoying what I'm seeing. I mean, the fact is, going 13 deep with not just the big names, the Hields and Currys and Wiggins, but guys like Trace Jackson-Davis and DeAnthony Melton and Kevon Looney and Gary Payton II. I'm enjoying seeing this kind of, again, strength in numbers, situation that they used to do and they used to be successful at with Steph at the helm. But then the other part of me says, Brent, you're freaking crazy. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Hit this last video for me here. I mean, dude, if we only have to give up those 3 guys, Wiggins, Podziemski, and Kuminga, and Waters, and Anderson, and some picks for this? What am I thinking? I mean, dude, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, man. Yes, the Bucks are 1-6, and yes, Giannis hasn't played in 80 games or even 70 games, I believe, in the last 3 seasons. But, dude, he's still 30 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, a block and a steal per game. He's a former NBA champion and MVP. He is the Greek freak. I mean, putting him with Steph Curry, dude, that would be phenomenal. If we can keep some of the roster in that proposed trade, we would still have some talent around them to work with. Curry, Melton, Moody, Hield, Peyton at 2, Giannis at small forward, Dre and Trace power forward, Looney center, and kind of rotate those guys around. I mean, look at this dude, man. Can you imagine the pick and rolls with Steph and Giannis now that they're utilizing the pick and roll with Steph Curry more? Oh, that's Giannis Antetokounmpo, man. I think we've forgotten because Milwaukee sucks and it's a small market. That's the freaking Greek freak. Their one is, I think Giannis is going to want his way out of there this year. And the more I watch, I almost forget just how athletic he is. The Warriors have never had a 7-footer like him. We could really use a 7-footer like him as much as I love Trace Jackson-Davis. Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at the Greek freak go. Yeah, we might have to go ahead and do that, dog. Yeah, I'm sorry. Forget everything I just said. I tell you what, watching the highlights, I'll give you Kuminga, Pajimski, Wiggins, Anderson, Waters, and a couple second-round picks for that dude, and we'll go ahead and call it a day. Warriors would definitely have at least a 2-3 year window, Steph's last year's, to win one more title, which would also be beautiful because then he'd have 5 rings, which should be more than LeBron's 4, and I can tell you all to stick it. I do have to tell you all goodbye because it's time. Got to go. Talk to you next time.